Today is Passover, which is such a special holiday for me. It's filled with memories, but this Passover is extra special because I get to share it with my new son, Avi, who just made me a mommy this year. Being Jewish has always been super important to me, even after I became a member of a church and even after I married a pastor. For the last 10 years, I have been touring as a singer around the world, specializing in Jewish music. And it was a few years ago when I had a deep burden to record songs that Jews wrote during the Holocaust and translate those from Yiddish to English and make an album of them. I knew it was going to cost a lot of money, so I toured around the churches right here in my area and just asked them if they would be willing to donate to this project. Really, to my amazement, the Christians in this area donated over $100,000 to help me produce this Holocaust Remembrance album. I've always had wonderful experiences wherever I go to give concerts, but probably the most touching experience I had over the last few years was in Serbia, Novi Sad, Serbia. I gave a concert at the synagogue there in that city, and when I was done singing, two men who came to my concert approached me afterwards and they said, "Rachel, can we talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yeah, sure." They said, "Do you know how special it is that you sang Kaddish in this synagogue?" Kaddish is a classic Jewish song that basically remembers those who have passed. And I said, "Well, it's always special to sing Kaddish." And they said, "Well, it's extra special that you sang that song in this synagogue." During the war, the Nazis rounded up the last Jews that were in the area, about 2,000 of them, shoved them into this synagogue with no food, no water, no bathroom, nothing for 48 hours. And after that time was over, they shoved them into these cattle cars and took them straight to Auschwitz, where most of them were murdered, including our grandparents. With tears in their eyes, they looked at me and they said, thank you so much for coming here to help our neighbors remember what happened." It was in that very moment when I realized, why am I the only one who gets to reap the benefits of this album? So many people donated to this album. They should have the chance to see how these songs are touching the Jewish community and show their solidarity and let the Jews know that they stand with them. It was around this time, actually, when I called the Anti-Defamation League and spoke with their interfaith director, Rabbi David Sandmel. And I said to him, what can my church do to help you guys fight anti-Semitism? I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, "Rachel, if you really want to help us fight anti-Semitism, go fight it in your church." I was flabbergasted. I was taken back. What did he mean? Does he think there's a bunch of Nazis in my church or something? But I knew what he meant. There are myths and misconceptions about Jews in Christian churches that could definitely feed anti-Semitism and has fed anti-Semitism. And it was that day when I hung up the phone, I knew that I wanted to make a difference. And that's when I decided to start Christians Against Anti-Semitism. CAA seeks to help Christians understand negative ideology about Jews and how to tactfully confront this type of thinking. And we plan to do this through some simple, fun training videos, easy reading materials, and some educational workshops. Anti-Semitism also robs Jews of their identity. So we want to make it part of our mission to help restore Jewish culture where it's been lost. For example, making kosher foods available in places where Jews don't have access to it, or sponsoring a Hebrew teacher to go and teach Hebrew classes for adults and kids who don't currently have that available, or donating to a synagogue security fund to help them be safer. Mirko and Pavel were so appreciative that I came to sing at their synagogue that they took me to the nicest, most beautiful restaurant in all of Novi Sad, right there on the river. We had an amazing time together. And at the end of the night, I don't know, I just felt like I really just wanted them to know me for who I was. And I said to them, you guys, I want to tell you something, but I'm afraid that if I do, you might not like me anymore. And they looked at me and they said, oh, forget about it. No, it's not possible. What is it? Okay. Even though I consider myself very Jewish, and I'll always be that way, I'm also a Christian, and I'm even married to a Christian pastor. And they threw their hands up in the air and they were like, who cares? You're one of us. And I can't really even describe in words how that made me feel. Probably for the first time in 20 years, that was the first time I had fully felt accepted by other Jewish people. For ages, Jews have been manipulated and coerced to believe in Jesus and give up their Jewish identity. Jews just want to know that Christians will support and protect them just the way they are. I thought that this Passover was going to be the most special one of my life because it was the first one I got to spend with my son. But regrettably, this Passover actually turned into one of grief and sadness when on the last night of Passover, April 27, 2019, a Christian anti-Semite walked into this synagogue with a rifle and a belief that all Jews should die. He ended up murdering one precious woman and wounding several others. In his manifesto that he posted online before the attack, he listed the reason of Jews murdering Christ as justification for what he did. He also listed several Bible verses from the New Testament as another reason why all Jews are evil and should die and go to hell. And not surprisingly, he listed Martin Luther as one of his main influencers. In Protestantism, we celebrate the famous reformer Martin Luther for all of the good that he did, which he did do. But Martin Luther also wrote one of the most detrimental anti-Semitic books of all time called The Jews and Their Lies. It's time, fellow Christians, that we confront the anti-Semitism sitting in our pews. Throughout history, there have been Christians who have sympathized with the Jewish people and protected them from discrimination. Would you consider joining CAA as a protector by helping us build our organization? We need monthly support to get this organization off the ground. Please visit www.supportcaa.com where you can partner with us so that together we can make this world a safer place for our Jewish friends and neighbors.